Okay. Holy crap. So, my internet got disconnected. Briefly by accident. And so I was in the middle of hearing saying shit that nobody heard. So, as I say, you're eating grapes. The question is, what did everybody hear? What they didn't hear? So what I was saying is, he could be right here. That Rekieta Law is trying to find a new side piece. Or it could be that he's learned his lesson. We just don't know for sure. I know that this speculation comes from the farms. I know that. A lack of access to mind-altering substance to control the distribution of maybe making the vetting process more difficult. So yeah, that's some of the latest news here. See if he has anything interesting. Yeah, Rekieta Law has been on a very long, extended streaming hiatus. So it started here with, sometimes you need to quit working for months so you can pursue a blood vengeance against your wife's ex-bull and fight the release of the body cam footage of your felony drug arrest. Just as a hard-working middle-class American with a family of 5 does. What was your earliest memory of it? And waiting for Cindy Crawford to download on my friend's 9600 baud modem. Where have you been? Missed you. Hope all is well. I'm probably supposed to be miss you, man. As well, sometimes you need to step away and take care of business. What's odd to me is most streamers that give a damn about their followers will announce a break, but not Baldo. His only source of validation is drama, lying to everyone, and creating false concern. Most streamers rely on streaming as income, and taking a hiatus is a calculated risk. Keeping your audience in the loop is a mitigation tactic against harm to your business and income. Related Rekieta Law's priorities are Aaron, emotional validation, and far below that, income. Basically, yeah. Yep. So accurate, it's funny. Alright, so let's look at the latest on Charlie Kirk. Here. I've had to mute a lot of different accounts because everything is, how dare you not ask questions? Oh no. ICE agents ambushed. Oh fuck. Let's see what this says. They're just showing it. Let's see what else we can find. Showing a live part, but they're not saying anything. And according to that guy, it would appear that there's been a shooting. But I don't want to just take his feed here. I just need to sign the ice facility. Okay. I think I'm gonna have to see what this guy is saying.
We've seen that. You know, they're so apparently, and if you look at is the window broken or is that window open? Does that look like the SUV? The driver's side window, is that busted open?
It's kind of hard to
tell. It looks like it may have been busted open. I don't know.
Could be.
But you got to remember, ICE has a tendency to do that, right? We've seen countless videos where there'll be somebody in the car and he's like, yo, I'm getting out of the car. And they just start smashing the window no matter what. You know what I'm saying? So we've seen that. You know, there has been some videos showing some serious force trying to get that, but it may be open, it may be broken. I don't know. Regardless, cars busted up. Same thing with this white SUV here as well. This is busted up too. So they were chasing this red SUV down, and then it turned into a car crash right in this neighborhood. And then people came out to protest the fact that they were there in the first place. And then that's when a whole bunch of ICE agents showed up. Whole bunch of them, a gang of them, y'all. Gang of ICE agents showed up in this particular area. And then there's basically been a standoff, if you can see that. I mean, obviously the standoff is happening right now as we speak, or, you know, in this particular moment. We're a few minutes ahead of everything because I wanted you guys to see all of what's going on, right? Just giving you guys what is the breaking news and what is happening right now. And clearly people are showing up, you know, throwing out their flags, okay? And basically telling ICE to kick rocks. Pretty interesting though, right? Let me let them talk a little bit more. I'm getting some more info, okay?
Loaded onto the tow truck now, so it probably won't be long before it is taken out, and hopefully this situation diffuses itself.
Michelle, you're exactly right. We're seeing that picture right now from Chopper 7, this live picture of that white SUV belonging to the agents being loaded onto the back of that tow truck. And Michelle, again, you're our eyes and ears right there on the ground. You're describing roughly about 50 agents, and you believe most of them are Border Patrol agents?
How he has tried to
it does appear that way, at least from what I've been able to see. I did try and do a rough count earlier. And I stopped when I was close to 50, but I still had not finished it. So I do believe it's at least that amount. And just based on, again, the uniforms that I'm looking at, I'm just able to see that it's mostly, it says Border Protection. I also have U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol. Yes, that is what appear to be the majority of those who are here on the ground is what I'm seeing, at least the ones that I am close to right now.
Michelle, appreciate it very much. Stay with me here on the phone. We're going to pause our coverage here on stream. We will be right back and continue our coverage of this breaking situation in a few minutes.
Man, this is crazy. So yeah, I'm trying to get some more info about everything, but obviously this is just crazy. And then of course, law enforcement, it will, I'm assuming, will be there at some point here. Okay. But this is still, no matter what, this is just pretty crazy stuff. Let me bump ahead here.
Eyewitness News.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Judy Sue. Let's get right to that breaking news right now. A very tense situation at this hour on Chicago's southeast side. Chopper 7 is over the scene near East 105th and Avenue N. That is a live picture you're looking at. We're following reports that there's been a car crash of some type involving federal immigration agents. There are about 50 agents at the scene right now our reporter that is on the scene telling us. There's also a large gathering of bystanders on the scene, many of whom appear to be protesting the efforts of those agents. Now, we are told at the scene on the ground there that at one point federal agents deployed what appear to be pepper bullets. Our crews at the scene was told also by neighbors that at least one person might have been taken into custody. Again, no confirmation yet from officials there on the ground. This is coming to us from neighbors who have gathered at the scene following this crash. We have also seen Chicago police on the scene, but we're also told at this point that they're not necessarily involved in any of the activities there, but Chicago police are on the scene Tow trucks have arrived to remove the two vehicles involved in that crash. It was a red SUV and also a white SUV. Right now, you're looking at people moving
Wow.
on this intersection. A very fluid situation that we're told. Again, about 50
What the
federal
hell is
agents
going
on the ground there. Our reporter who is there on the ground believe most of them may be Border Patrol agents. Chicago police are on the scene. The alderman for that ward is.
So just so you know, this was happening. This is happening on the east side of Chicago, 105th and Avenue North. Okay, in Chicago. It says it right here, right up here in the top left-hand corner. For those of y'all who are just showing up, getting just late to the party, this is what's going on. And as you can see, somebody's getting arrested, or somebody's getting taken in. Somebody's getting taken in. Okay. And I'm sure there's going to be video out the wazoo here very, very soon of people posting this stuff online somewhere, which is absolutely crazy. I do want to also let you know, if you guys aren't seeing the title up above or down below, wherever you're watching this show, there will be I will be having an interview with George Floyd's uncle in just a little bit, just so you guys know. But and I'm not leaving yet. We're not leaving this situation here yet. But I just want to let you guys know that we have kind of a sandwiched an interview that's going to be sandwiched within this show. But we're going to keep an eye on this, and we're going to be coming back to this, of course, if there's more developing information revolving around what's going on here on the east side of Chicago. But we're going to continue on. But I just wanted to let you guys know that's what's going to be going on here in a little bit. All right. But nonetheless, this is absolutely crazy. All right. This is absolutely crazy. And this is going down on a Tuesday, y'all. This isn't going down on a weekend. This isn't going down on a Saturday or a Friday night. This is happening right now on a damn Tuesday. Okay? This is bad. This is bad.
That's happening at 4 p.m.
We'll see what happens. Let's see what else they got to say here.
And flags were also told at the scene that at one point, federal agents deployed what appeared to be pepper bullets. Again, these are accounts coming from witnesses on the scene and neighbors who live near that area. Our crews at the scene was told that at least one person was taken into custody, and that was prior to the live picture that you just saw with another person possibly being taken into custody. We're also told that Chicago police are on the scene. They have responded. They don't appear to be, from what we could see, involved in the actions and the activities, but they are on the scene. Just a few minutes ago, we did see tow trucks on the scene towing away the red SUV that presumably was being chased by federal agents, and also the white SUV presumably occupied by federal agents. Both vehicles were being towed away. But right now, what you're looking at is essentially a standoff of some sort. We're told after this crash, which might have happened about an hour ago now, neighbors gathered at that intersection, many people coming out, holding phones, recording what was happening, and then eventually leading to this type of a standoff that you are watching right now. Federal agents on the scene, we believe to be, many of them believed to be Border Patrol agents. Our crew is on the ground. I'm just going to pause right now and check in with my producer to see if we're able to get Michelle on the phone yet.
I'm going to move up ahead a little bit more. But I mean, as you can see, there's absolute chaos going on. And of course, people are pulling out their phones. They're protesting. I mean, of course, this is pretty insane. Let me move this up a little bit more. I mean, the flags are out, protesters are out. Or you know what? Honestly, I don't know if I wouldn't say this is all protesters. This just could be people from the neighborhood, y'all. This could just straight up be people from the neighborhood being like, yo, leave this dude alone. You know, that could literally be what it is. Real talk.
Well, in that
and then again, let's not forget, yes, I'll have to say that now too.
If
you
they're
know,
doing
there
that.
is going to be a big involvement. There's going to be a big reaction on this weekend. There will be people out in the streets. Okay? Like, there will be people out in the streets throughout the entire country, if not throughout the entire globe. So this is going to be a very, very interesting. This is going to be a very, very interesting situation. And if it continues going this way, like this just happened just like last week, there was a massive car crash where a woman was actually shot, and then she had to take herself to the hospital because she was actually hit. You see what I'm saying? Like there is some serious chaos going on in these streets, for sure. Okay, for sure. I'm moving it up a little bit more, guys.
A response from the said that the people in the crowd were threw something at the agents. One of the residents said they'd been throwing eggs, and that prompted a response from the agents, who then launched tear gas into the crowd. At that point, I got a safe distance away. So did my photographer, and we waited a few minutes for that to clear up before approaching the scene once again. At the moment, we seem to be back to that tense standoff of before the tear gas was launched. But again, it just seems like this could continue on for a while at this point, unless until the agents decide
to fire off tear gas
to leave,
or if they fire off tear gas, let's keep it real, right?
Yeah.
If they start firing off tear gas, everyone's gonna be gone. It'll disperse.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna take him and. I have what I believe is a live feed of what the chopper is currently showing. Oh, well, maybe not.
Right?
The chopper may
But
be
they're
leaving.
saying somebody threw
Because he's showing a replay. Of
somebody threw an egg at an agent, and then of course,
Well, why are we frozen?
seeing guys. I mean, this is crazy, right? Yeah, they did. I'm still here, guys. My internet has been acting up lately. I'm just letting you know the reception has been just up and down, just so you know. Okay, but still keep rocking with me. Okay, stick around, right? But apparently, like I said, somebody threw an egg, and obviously more ICE agents showed up, and now you see that. Right now, I don't see any 5-0. I don't see any police. At least not in this shot. Maybe they're off on the perimeters somewhere, but I don't see any cops. This is all ICE from what I'm seeing, which is crazy, right? There they are. There's 5-0. And look, you got people on the other side of the street too. Whoa. This is crazy. This is nuts. But here's the thing. At least for right now, they are not. I don't see anybody throwing anything. I don't see any eggs being thrown. I don't see anything crazy going on. I don't see any violence. Obviously, we see agitated people, but do we see... I don't see anybody doing anything. I don't see any advancements, okay, from the civilian side, from the protesters' side, okay? But, of course, we'll see how things go, right? But the cops are there, but they're kind of like off on the side. And maybe they're just kind of like standing off, just waiting, just to make sure nothing bad happens. Everybody pretty much, from what we're seeing right now, yes, there's people who are, yelling things and holding up their flags and all that, but that's their right. They have the right to say those things. But I don't see so far anything as far as like anything aggressive yet. Maybe it gets aggressive. I don't know. But for right now, I don't see anything aggressive. I don't see anybody throwing anything. I just see people, like you see the guy in the bottom here that keeps pacing back and forth. There's always one person that wants to see how far they can get without getting in trouble. You see what I'm saying? Maybe rocks are being thrown, but I don't see that yet. You see what I'm saying? I don't see that yet. They said something about an egg being thrown, but I'm still waiting to see. Hold on. There we go. There's the 5-0. Let's see what they got to say now.
But we have just in the last few seconds seen Chicago police who had remained at bay now starting to
whoa.
put themselves in the middle of the, oh, God. Protesters are starting to throw rocks. We're going to get away from the scene right now.
Okay. Now they're throwing things. Okay? This is what should not be happening, okay? This does not solve anything. This makes things worse, okay? Let's be real. That's not good. I'm going to continue, but I just want to point that out. So, obviously, we're a few minutes behind. So, in the very beginning, they weren't throwing anything. They said somebody threw an egg, all right? But now we're seeing them throw things. See, this is when the tear gas happens. This is when the pepper balls are getting shot. And this is when people start to disperse. Let's keep it real.
Judy.
Let's see what happens.
Michelle, you take care of yourself. I'm going to let her get off the phone. We really appreciate it. Get to a safe place. So what you're watching, what you continue to watch is exactly what Michelle has been describing. This, again, at the intersection 105th and Avenue N. Last Michelle said as protesters started throwing rocks. And you can see that there is some chemical being deployed right there at this intersection. Just prior to this, you did see what appeared to be Chicago police officers and some commanders there trying to have some type of a dialogue with the protesters there at the intersection. It would seem that they were trying to disperse the crowd and maybe usher them off the street so that the agents could possibly move their vehicles. And it was at that point that Michelle noticed that protesters started throwing rocks, and this is the end result. Earlier, we had heard that there were pepper balls being sprayed into the crowd because someone had thrown eggs or some neighbors had thrown something at the agents, and now reports of rocks being thrown. And that was coming from Michelle, a reporter right there on the ground. She has now gotten off the phone with us. They're trying to get to a safer place, of course, but we can continue to watch this picture. Fortunately, with Chopper 7 up in the air, we can still continue to monitor what is happening here. Again, if you are just joining us here on stream, this situation has been very tense for the last, maybe about 40 minutes or so since we came on the air with this breaking situation. It started all with some type of a crash between, again, this information is coming to us from neighbors on the ground. Nothing has been officially confirmed, but we believe this started with a crash involving a federal agent's vehicle, a white SUV that was on the ground there, chasing possibly a red SUV. We have no information about the occupant of the red SUV, the vehicle that they were presumably chasing. At that point, something happened, and there was an accident that was caused here at this intersection that you're watching at 105th and Avenue N. Now, this may have been about an hour and a half ago when this crash happened. Quickly, neighbors were told, gathered at that intersection, came out with their phones. There were a number of agents on the scene. Michelle Gallardo, our crew there on the ground, believe that Michelle was telling us that they believe it was mostly Border Patrol agents roughly about 50 of them to begin with, assuming that more agents might have gathered there on the ground since we started watching this at first. So it became a very tense situation between the agents, the two vehicles that had crashed, waiting to be towed away, and residents and neighbors at that intersection. And that was the story that we have been watching for the last now about 45 minutes. Ending at this point, which you were just witnessing, which is Chicago police officers responding to the scene, attempting to have some sort of a words exchange dialogue with the neighbors there, and that is when things kind of went a little bit more chaotic. Michelle saying that that she saw neighbors throwing rocks and chemicals were deployed. Right now, the picture is pulled back a little bit from Chopper 7. As you watch this intersection, obviously you can see the protesters, the neighbors, people who were gathered dispersed quickly when that chemical was released. We're still waiting for confirmation of officially of what is happening here. We do believe there were dozens of agents on the scene. Chicago police responded, as you can see. We can see from this chopper picture earlier. The alderman of the ward is also there on site, trying to have some conversations with the people there and officials on what is happening. Michelle was able to relate to us that at least one person, possibly two, were taken into custody, and that information coming from neighbors there on the ground who described seeing the initial crash and what happened afterwards. The person who was talking to Michelle and sharing a lot of this information happened to be an Uber driver who was apparently in the neighborhood and witnessed the chase moving for quite some time, that person described, and then eventually ending in this crash. And of course, you saw that neighbors coming out to the intersection and waving flags and signs. That's what we could see, leading to some type of a standoff. And that basically stayed status quo for about 40 minutes. And then right now we're trying to reassess the situation and see what has happened here. I'm going to pause for a second, let you take a.
I'm just going to say this. I mean, you know, at some point it's, excuse me. At some point, you know, the chaos has got to, like, you got to just be able to show up, say what you got to say, and do it peacefully. Once you start throwing rocks, once you start throwing projectiles towards the likes of ICE or cops or anything of that sort, yeah, it's going to be insane. There's going to be people, there's going to be a reaction. They can't expect there not to be a reaction. Again, I don't know if this is, you know, is this going to bleed into tonight? You see what I'm saying? Is this going to bleed into the rest of, is this going to happen? Is tonight going to be a long night? Or is this going to be, or is this just one moment? Because there's been a couple moments that have happened, you know, over the past couple days. So I keep wondering, is this peaceful protest, is it going to stay peaceful for very long? I am quite curious about that. You know?
Good question.
So I am curious. Let me see some of these chats while still waiting on, checking to see if my guest is ready to hop on or not. So I'm just making sure he's ready to go. But let me just read some of these comments here really, really quick. Classic Pascal, nah, that never will happen. Chaos is just begun. People are sick of the tyrannical regime or the tyrannical regime in the White House. Fact. You know, I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of people that feel some type of way about this for sure. Obviously, we're seeing this in the streets. Okay. You know, hold on.
I don't mean to cover his face. I just realized I was doing that.
My thing is I'd rather us all be okay than us not be okay. You see what I'm saying? While still getting your voice being heard. Because here's the thing. We all have the right to assemble. We all have the right to speak our minds. We all have the freedom of speech. Okay? That is our right. Okay. But at the same time, I am quite curious. How long can we keep this up without it turning into something worse? I'm really hoping that it doesn't turn into anything worse, but we will see. Now,
Yeah.
of course, I'm still keeping an eye on this. Okay. We are going to get, I am coming back to this. All right. Don't you worry. We are coming back to this for sure. All right. But I do have somebody very special joining the show. All right. Today.
I don't care about him.
And okay, really quick. All right.
Don't really care too much about him. Let's see what this person is having to say. There's Lance the PI. He's got a page here. The video.
2 tow trucks out there, looks like. Yeah, it's time to get your car and get.
Started with a crash involving a federal agent's vehicle, a white SUV that was on the ground there chasing possibly a red SUV. We have no information about the occupant of the red SUV, the vehicle that they were presumably
He's rehashing what we've already heard.
Information about the occupant of the red SUV, the vehicle that they were presumably chasing. At that point,
so we know that there was a red
something
SUV
happened in the
that they were chasing. And we know that something happened that caused them to have an accident. Let's see what this has to say.
You've seen these.
Here and trying to get away, Chris.
Absolutely. Sarah, let me ask you, and I know there was just an amazing zoom-out look at what agents are dealing with, what neighbors are dealing with in the East Side community. Our Sarah Maki is on her way there. We hope to have her on the phone or live on the ground. In a short period of time. We have seen in instances before around the Chicagoland area where these groups, these protest groups are able to sort of scramble very, very quickly. Word travels very fast. There are text threads. There are social media pages where people say, hey, this is where it's happening today.
But
we want to get
Antifa
in the way.
is not an organized
conscientious
group.
objectors trying to stand in the way of federal agents. We've seen this unfold at places like houses of worship and courthouses. Today, it's the East Side neighborhood in Chicago at 105th and Avenue N. Again, from what we understand, there was some sort of crash, perhaps a flashpoint. We aren't sure what led up to that. And again, we really need to underline in moments like this what we do not know. And at this moment in time, what we do not know is far greater than what we do know. But this is the moment where we're kind of zeroing in today. Let's just kind of keep a bird's eye view on this here as we kind of reset here.
Okay, I'm back with you guys. Did everybody act like civilized human beings while I was gone? I had to run to the pharmacy real quick.
Let's see what CNN might be saying about any of this if they are.
Back up here, filtered in. But these protests don't look like they're getting any better. They just, especially Chicago. Chicago looks like it's getting worse.
And we continue to follow this breaking news here on the city's southeast side. You see now the emergence of pepper spray, some sort of tear gas material that has been sort of the stock in trade for these federal agents. Some have pointed out to us that it appears as though it's more border control than ICE. Again, we're having a harder time if the chopper crews are able to get a closer look at the badges or the names or the types of authorities we're dealing with here. But again, now you're seeing this larger use of smoke. You see the disbursement, which is, of course, the goal of these devices, to sort of disperse crowds. If you're just joining us, boy, there is a large disbursement underway right now here at the intersection of 105th and Avenue N on the city's southeast side, where, from what we understand, the federal agents arrived around 11 a.m. And this is what we're seeing now. In about the last 20 minutes or so, we saw a couple of arrests here unfold. But again, you can see it looks as though agents may be getting back into those SUVs and leaving the scene. The smoke agents often used, we have seen this before, as ways to clear pathways for these authorities to sort of get out of the neighborhood. Perhaps an indication that this situation may be sort of nearing its end, where they use those pepper balls, those gas devices, to try to give themselves an exit point. As we look at the upper part of the screen, that is where we saw the agents' black SUVs kind of leaving. We still see some sort of Chicago police, and again, this has been such a focal point of this, the interactivity between federal agents and Chicago police. Chicago police have been criticized in the past, and the superintendent of Chicago police saying the criticism is unwarranted, that they didn't respond. We saw CPD here as the federal agents appear to sort of be leaving the neighborhood. I believe our chopper is kind of trying to follow that. But again, if you're just joining us, in about the last 20 minutes, we saw a couple of people arrested
on X is really shared it either.
where they were put in either handcuffs or zip ties. I want to try to widen out our coverage here as we continue to watch this scene unfold. Former Superintendent of Chicago Police, Gary McCarthy, is on the line with us. Mr. Superintendent, thanks so much for spending part of your time with us. I'm assuming that you're able to see a screen that is reflecting what's happening here. When we see sort of situations like this
Chris,
unfold, what should we know?
Chris, actually, I'm not seeing it, so I'm relying on what you're telling me. There's a couple of thoughts, and I don't know exactly what's going on out there, but there needs to be a distinction that's drawn between ICE and U.S. border control. And if those folks are in camouflage, that's 99% going to be.
That was my producer. She said I cannot be eating Doritos.
That's
Okay.
very, very important. In fact, I'm going to encourage
not allowed to have
change our
Doritos.
banner to say federal agents or federal activity in the East Side neighborhood, because you bring up a very good point. When these sort of flashpoints emerge in these very early minutes, Superintendent McCarthy, what should we be thinking about as we kind of see these unfold? And for neighbors who are wondering what to do, how does your eye look at this?
So my very quick thoughts are pretty simple, which is based on what I've seen so far over the last month or so.
Thank you for watching on
I'm
Kick.
not sure that those individuals are trained in crowd control. And a lot of people really don't understand crowd control.
And everybody that's watching
and
on
the best
Kick.
example I could give you is when
And
we were
Facebook
doing the
and
NATO summit all
YouTube.
the way back in 2012. Community meetings we put together beforehand. I got asked the question, are you going to use tear gas to control the crowd? And the answer is only if you can tell me how tear gas controls a crowd. Instead of controlling it, what you're doing is you've got, okay, I'm actually looking at it right now on TV. I can see a little bit of the remnants of what happened. But the problem is tear gas disperses a crowd. You'll take a crowd of 100 people and turn it into 10 crowds of 10 going in 10 different directions. That's not crowd control. So if you put your hands on somebody, you don't knock them to the ground unless if you're using that justifiable force, you're making an arrest. So there's a lot of problems with what I'm seeing from the way that the federal authorities are handling this. And it was a different story when you saw the Illinois State Police come into Broadview, along with the Cook County Sheriff's officers. They were very controlled. They
I had
were
no
in a
problem with
line.
these tear gas.
They were not scattered
As a
all
form
over
of
the place.
managing
You
the
didn't see
crowd.
pepper balls being fired and tear gas being thrown. So, they have a lot to learn. Let's put it that way. And they should be relying on local police to do that.
Have you seen any evolution of that learning from the first few cycles of this through today?
Not yet. Not yet. The only thing that I've seen that is encouraging is there's kind of a step back. And I actually got a briefing the other day from ICE and the Illinois State Police. And the Illinois State Police really has it. They know what they're doing. Let's put it that way. And it's a different scenario when they're handling it versus guys in camouflage. Let's put it that way.
Explain for us what the difference is for our viewers at home and for us. The difference, when you pointed out off the top of our conversation that given that they're in camouflage, it's more likely that they are border control, not ICE. What does that mean from a functional and practical perspective for folks on the ground?
Well, they don't seem to be trained in crowd control. It's really that simple. And unfortunately, that reflects in disorder. And the disorder brings more disorder. That's where people get assaulted, whether they're police officers or civilians. And that's not the way it should be happening. Let's put it that way. Professional policing can handle this. Let's put it that way. And that's what we saw from the state police.
Well, they don't seem to
and
be
Cook
doing
County
a very
Sheriff
good
when they
job of
responded.
handling it. Sorry.
We're joined now on the line by Gary McCarthy, the former superintendent of Chicago Police, and we're watching these live pictures. We saw a couple of people arrested, Mr. Superintendent, a few moments ago. Is some of this here now what we're seeing now, if you're still watching on your screen at your facility, these are live pictures. We saw what we believed were a couple of arrests. There was a group of people that dispersed. They kind of came back, and then when before it appeared the federal agents sort of left the scene, there was that disbursement of smoke, what you're talking about. We've seen so many incidences in the last few weeks of pepper balls being used and smoke being used in various methods. For protesters who either live in that neighborhood, Mr. McCarthy, or who sort of scrambled to get there today because they want to sort of be conscientious objectors or protect individuals, what messaging do you have to the protesters who are seeing this unfold when maybe the federal agents that are in front of them aren't equipped to handle it, as you say?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. The protesters have to comply with the law. I think everybody's forgetting about that.
Right.
I think everybody's forgetting about that. And at the end of the day, you throw rocks or you throw bottles at the police, that's an assault, and you need to be arrested. And let's put that at the front of this. There are people who are purposely trying to cause these confrontations, whether it's Antifa or the people. And listen, we're experiencing this in Chicago. We saw it during the Floyd riots. Go back and look at the video from the confrontations at the Columbus statue. They were organized, just like they were during NATO, just like they were during the DNC. And they've been handled different ways. The DNC and NATO were handled the same way. The Columbus statue was not handled that way. The officers weren't equipped for it, and that was because of direction from City Hall.
Okay.
Cops can handle this, okay? But protesters do not get a free pass to assault people or cause property damage. Nobody is saying that. Let's get that out there.
But for folks who are protesting
Lock 'em up.
peacefully, who just want to sort of be there and be heard and be seen, who are not throwing rocks, who are not getting in the way, when you have Federal Agent Group A versus Federal Agent Group B, you need to know, right, that there's a group of people that are equipped to handle this, and there's a group that may be less equipped.
Yeah, but by the same token, the bad guys infiltrate those peaceful protesters.
Right.
And it's hard to tell the difference. Come on, let's get the facts out there.
Fair point. As we, again, if you're just joining us here at about 10 to the hour,
Oh,
you are
I
looking
think
here
some of your
on the
facts are
southeast side of the
stupid. I have
city
no
in the
problem
east
with
side
them
neighborhood,
using the tear
105th
gas.
and Avenue N, not far from the Horseshoe Casino, a dozen blocks or
I
so
believe it's necessary.
west of the Indiana border here, where at about 11 a.m. we started to see things unfold. In the last 20 minutes, we've seen 2 arrests and the disbursement of several gas agents to try and diffuse the situation. Unclear whether or not that was successful in so doing. Our Sarah Maki is on the ground there. We're going to hear from her in a short time. We continue to be joined by former Superintendent of Chicago Police, Gary McCarthy, who is watching this all unfold. Where do you see this sort of going? Will we be dealing with these same sort of scenarios unfolding in various Chicago neighborhoods in the same exact way for weeks and weeks, or are we seeing this sort of change in some way over time from either the protester standpoint, the police here locally, or the federal authorities?
Thank you,
Well,
Tamara.
let's put it this way. Hopefully, like I said, the state police and Cook County Sheriff step in and handle the protests. But by the same time,
Ivory, yes, we can see you.
let's be clear about this.
Sweet Mama,
there
I
are
see
people
you over there on
all
Kick.
over the country to cause chaos.
I'm
That is
trying to
not
get me
being
some
reported.
food in me,
And I'll
guys.
give you specific
So give me a minute.
examples.
I want
During
to talk and
Floyd
eat at the same
riots,
time.
My right-hand guy, Bob Tracy, who's the chief of crime control strategies in Chicago, was in Wilmington, Delaware. And he was locking up people from Eugene, Oregon. Now think about that for a second. If you live in Eugene, Oregon, are you going to go all the way to Wilmington, Delaware to protest, or are you going to go to Los Angeles or someplace on the West Coast? These people
Okay,
are
Mr.
funded.
Superintendent, I need to hold you just for 1 second because we're going to resume our coverage over the air here in just a second. Stand by as we do that.
This is breaking news from CBS News Chicago.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris Ty in the CBS News Chicago newsroom. We continue to follow this unfolding story in Chicago's East Side neighborhood. You're looking near 105th and Avenue N, a dozen blocks west of the Indiana border near the Horseshoe Casino, where a short time ago we saw federal agents sort of face to face with a group of protesters here. We understand this all began at around 11 this morning, where there was some sort of altercation, some sort of car accident occurred. A vehicle was taken out of the scene. And then a short time later, 2 people were arrested. You see one of them arrested right there on your screen. Again, this was about 25 minutes ago. A second person arrested shortly thereafter. And then that black SUV, which is joined by a number of others, believed to be those of the federal authorities on scene, which we understand may be Border Patrol, not ICE. But again, we're continuing to figure that out. We have a reporter on scene. Then we saw this disbursement of smoke agents into that neighborhood, which kind of cleared out the crowd and allowed those federal vehicles to sort of exit the area. Superintendent of Chicago Police Gary McCarthy put it, perhaps folks who have traveled here from outside the area with various agendas or trying to be conscientious objectors. We just don't know. It is too early in this story. We have seen this sort of thing unfold in a number of Chicago communities of late. Superintendent McCarthy continues to be on the line with us today and help put some words to these pictures. Mr. McCarthy, can you kind of explain for us and reset what your largest thoughts are here as we're sort of in the early stages of this latest incarnation of federal agents versus people in these communities?
Well, quite frankly, what I'm looking at on TV right now looks like almost a non-event, if you will. If there's 2 arrests, as you say, that's something that a patrol car could do from the Chicago police. Whatever happened between those agents and protesters, or quote-unquote protesters, I don't know. But at the end of the day, this is being orchestrated by some people to cause chaos. And quite frankly, this is the politics of today.
It is the politics of today. And it is also
do not think that you get a free pass to assault a police officer.
Let me move this to a place where maybe we can learn a little bit more about what is going on the ground there. Our reporter Sarah Maki is just arriving. She's able to sort of give us a tone set of what's happening here on the East Side neighborhood. Sarah, what do you got?
Yeah, Chris, actually, things are still pretty chaotic out here. You can hear a lot of people are blaring their horns as they are driving by. Traffic, again, is moving. At times, it has been stopped. At the most tense times, we should say, CPD was in here trying to block traffic to try and get some of the people out of here, some of those federal agents. But if you do take a look behind us, you can see still a lot of people in this area making some noise even as they leave. We arrived probably 15-20 minutes ago. At that time, we had a very large crowd at the end of this street, at the end of this block on Avenue N, where they were confronting what looked like federal agents, and as CPD also started to move in and try to do some crowd control. We saw a lot of neighbors also kind of on the periphery, just taking a look at what was going on. And even as we were driving down here, we were stopped by somebody in a tow truck. We were stopped by somebody in a tow truck who said, "Is this where you're going as well?" Because they've been trying to get kind of things moving again here. I would say just a few minutes after we arrived, as we were really still trying to get into a better position and get upwind of everything, we started to see those federal agents pulling on their masks. At that time, we decided it was time to take a step back. And as we did so, as we tried to remove ourselves from this situation, you saw tear gas canisters go off. At that point, we had CPD unmasked, still trying to do crowd control, still trying to move people. We had a lot of people fleeing from that area. It is a light wind out here, so that picked up pretty quickly, and it took it downwind, moving a lot of people with it. At that time, we saw people trying to get out of the way, coming blocks over, throwing up, spitting up, trying to get all of the pepper spray and tear gas out of their eyes. I actually went into this auto zone to try and do the same. At the auto zone, they were there with eye rinse, giving it to people. They were providing towels, they were providing water, they were doing whatever they could. I would say about 10 people in just that one building alone. So a lot of the worst of the chaos and the tension has dissipated, but it is still very much a scene as people are trying to figure out what's going on out here and trying to get away, Chris.
Absolutely. Sarah, let me ask you, and I know there was just an amazing amount of activity in a short amount of time, but when you were looking at those federal agents, we were talking about what kind of federal agents they are. Did you see anything? Obviously, we saw some camouflage jackets, which indicates perhaps border control more than ICE. Did you?
Yeah, it was border control.
Were you in a position to kind of discern who were the federal agents on ground?
It was hard to tell because there were so many people kind of crowding around them, and from the distance that we were at, even as we got kind of closer, they were still on the other end of the intersection. I would say that they did look like Border Patrol instead of some of the ICE agents that we've seen. But, you know, when we were talking to people and listening to the crowd, they were shouting ICE. So, again, a lot of confusion about who exactly these folks were. They were in unmarked vehicles. They were with out-of-state licenses. So, license plates, rather, I should say. So it was hard to tell exactly who was out here, and that seems to be some of the confusion as well.
Stay safe, stay with us, keep us updated as anything new emerges. Want to re-bring in former Superintendent of Chicago Police, Gary McCarthy. Mr. Superintendent, let me ask you, when you have, as it appears from Sarah's fresh reporting here, and to the point you made very astutely off the start of our conversation, that it appears maybe this wasn't an ICE operation.
Alabama has a commitment from
border control, and you made the point that border control has a different level of expertise, frankly, a lesser level of expertise when it comes to crowd control. When you're dealing with that sort of one against the other here, agents that aren't trained perhaps to handle this kind of situation, can that inflame the situation?
Well, look, this is what you get when you have elected officials forbidding police to work with other agencies. If somebody can explain to me why that is, then I can answer your question. Chicago police are not allowed to work with ICE or border control. So we don't know what they're doing. They don't know what we're doing. This is unbelievable. Just think about that for a second. In my book, that's borderline malfeasance. It really is. Because you know what? When cops need help, whether they're border control, whether they're ICE or whether they're
all
Chicago
police should work together.
Officers, Metro, Port Authority, I don't care. Go help them and figure it out later. But what's happening is they're being forbidden from doing that by politicians.
We heard last week from the superintendent of Chicago Police, Larry Snelling, about how he has tried to keep the relationship strong with federal agents, federal agencies, ATF, U.S. Marshals, FBI, etc. They work hand in hand in a lot of ways. There was that flashpoint 2 weekends ago where I think 27 Chicago police officers got essentially pepper sprayed by these federal authorities. Do you get the sense that the connective tissue between these agencies is improving? Are we seeing more sort of communication between these agencies to try to make things more fluid, or are they getting worse?
No.
How is that evolving, if at all?
It's not evolving because Larry's boss, Brandon, tells him, don't work with them.
Just to push back on you, sir, he did. The superintendent said that he reached out and spoke with his counterparts in the federal agencies, the police agencies, to try and bring this thing to a softer landing. We should state that's your opinion that the mayor gave him that instruction. We have not independently confirmed that.
Of course. But guess what? Reaching out to them and talking to them about what they're doing is not saying that you can go and cooperate with them and come up with a cohesive plan for public safety.
Okay, let's move to the moment that we're seeing unfold here on the city's southeast side. Obviously, with the messaging, and as we look at a camera here that is on the ground, protesters have been warned to follow the law because the law applies. When we're dealing with this sort of thing in a neighborhood that may have not dealt with it before, what are some other things that you're thinking about from a law enforcement standpoint that you hope happens here in the hours ahead?
Well, I hope that there's some sort of a convening of all the various agencies that are doing various things, and they come to a decision how to handle it. But right now, you've got chaos, and that's being created by the political climate that we're living in. And the police are put
I
in the
agree
middle
with
of
that.
it.
It's just
like
chaos.
Larry Stelling, just like John Hine. These guys are being put in a position where their boss is telling them one thing, but by the same token, their values are different. The politics and the values do not comport.
To the point you were making earlier about protesters that may be there to not be conscientious objectors, but to actually sort of throw rocks in the system. We have fresh video of just that, Mr. McCarthy, and this is video where you can see those objects being thrown. There may be a delay to your camera, to your telephone that you're watching this on, but we did indeed see that, which we have seen so many times in the last few weeks here as we watch this situation from a little bit earlier. Again, this was from about 25 minutes ago in the moments before the federal agents left 105th and Avenue N, and they took at least 2 people into custody, as we understand. And as our Sarah Maki said, it's been a very unsettled, as you'd imagine, early.
You throw a brick at a cop, that should be attempted murder. You could kill that person with that brick.
News Chicago online. You can watch us on air and online at 4 o'clock today, and we'll, of course, continue to watch all of these developments unfold. Our thanks, of course, to former Superintendent of Chicago Police, Gary McCarthy. Gary, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, no problem.
We appreciate it very, very much. We're going to return you to regularly scheduled programming on C.
Okay, just, crazy people acting nuts out here on the streets of Chicago. Chicago tends to be more violent than we see everywhere else. Show y'all this. Ooh, right on her butt. Okay, that's a little brutal, right? That's a little brutal, but the police didn't throw her on her head, okay? They threw her on her butt. But that was a little brutal to see, This is Chicago. Ooh. She is going to be rubbing her butt bone tomorrow. Let me tell you, that did not look pretty. That don't look like it felt nice. Right? That hurt me. I ain't even gonna lie. Oh my God. That hey folks, Gary Hill Paramount, and we're right at. I feel sorry for that girl, but let me tell you this: if they said, "Dolly, we're going to slam you on your butt bone, or you going to jail," I'm going to take the butt bone every day. Okay, because jail totally sucks. A whole new meaning to butt hurt, right? If she wasn't butt hurt before, she's butt hurt now. Right on her butt, on the concrete. That didn't feel good. And I don't know if you ever hurt your butt bone, but that is one of the worst bones in your body that you can hurt. I come running down the steps one night from my house, and I had concrete steps at my old house. I got wooden steps, like a deck steps at my house now. But the old house had concrete steps, and it was had been raining. Was that relayed from a medical examiner? Was slick. And I come running out the door to run down the stairs. And then from Erica to Andrew, are we playing a game of telephone? Did some details get lost? I generally agree that I from a medical examiner report as a grain of salt. Erica, right? So I doubt very seriously that he got that information.
That's
more
started
evidence
empowering.
than the drone people, but definitely, you know, as
This
much or
guy has
less
been really
evidence
good.
as
I've been
these
impressed
alternative
with his
shooters. So
coverage so far
it's a speculative
of the
theory,
Charlie
both
Kirk.
of all those, but I think one has more credence, slightly more credence than some of those other ones. So that's kind of where I stand on some of that. Are you going to do a t-shirt test? Yes, 100%. All right. Well, I've been looking for cross pendants. The crazy thing is, my kids, I actually bought them cross pendants, cross necklaces in Mexico, and so they have like these large. They're about that big, right? These crosses on a similar chain to what Charlie had. And I got them for them, and they're handmade in Mexico. They're all silver, or like, I don't know, like sterling silver, right? 90%, whatever it is. I mean, obviously I'm not going to shoot those, but I've been looking for something very similar to that, but I want to try to replicate all of these things. And so, yes, I'm tracking with you guys. Trust me, we're going to get this done. Could this be 17 HMR? No, for the reasons I listed earlier. I don't know if you were here, Jordan. The problem that I have with saying it's a lighter caliber, like 17 HMR, man, it just zips through stuff. Like, it just, like, we don't see the energy transfer that we would see. Whatever hit Charlie was, I think it would almost definitely was a 30 caliber round. And we see just a lot of energy transfer. I've seen people, even people shot with 30 cal rounds. Like, sometimes as they're getting shot, they're not even moving. It's just zipping through them so quick. The way that the energy dump that we see on them, that we see on Charlie, is almost like nothing else I've ever seen. Definitely not ever seen with
No one seems
an
to really
animal
understand it, all the
or someone
movements.
not wearing body armor. And so, like, the idea to me that a 17 HMR just hit him and had the physical reaction to 17, like, I think what we'd have seen with 17 HMR, I don't think we'd have seen the big blood spurting. Like, it's such a small round, it goes so fast. I don't know if they make frangible 17 HMR, but regardless, it just doesn't have the energy that we see displayed on Charlie's body. I like your theory that the bullet hit top edge, played fragged up into C's neck. I think the shooter got lucky. He may have aimed center mass and hit high. If a better shot, C might have be alive today. So yeah, I still lean towards that. I think there's a lot of evidence when we look at the slow-mo footage from the back and everything else. I think we're seeing very clear evidence of body armor. I really do. And to me, it's the only thing that makes the most sense. That's a good spontaneous merch idea, bro. Makes American great again. By the way, I believe your theory 160th in the house. All love from Limestone, Tennessee, home of David Crockett. Remember the Alamo. Good to see you, Jack. Good to see you. Night Stalkers, 160th in the house. I was at, I'm assuming you're at Campbell. You're at Campbell, or maybe retired from Campbell. Anyways, I was there at the 101st. That was before I went SF. Rakasans, 187. Portable X-ray in ER common with trauma. Portable X-ray in ER common with trauma. Oh, I don't know if that's a question, Nidra, or your that's a statement. Throw another question up there, Nidra, if you can. I appreciate your evidence-based pursuit of the truth. It's a breath of fresh air in a world of presumption and speculation. Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate that. Dumbest criminals make the mistakes leaving behind evidence. Yeah. You know, going back, and this was the question earlier, like, did he think he was, I forgot the exact question, but, you know, he left a lot of evidence. I think if you're going into to commit an act like he did, I don't know that there's an exit plan to begin with. I think he's almost surprised that he was successful. I could be wrong. Or again, maybe it's a different shooter and altogether. Just having a hard time buying into that. Thank you for your service and your time investigating the situation. Your videos have had the most thought out evidence I've seen. Thank you, Kathleen. I appreciate that. Thanks for the most comprehensive analysis round. I've been lighting up other channels with PTAC, Paramount Tactical, lots of wackadoodles blasting old fake news. took the wound packing course once. Highly recommend to all. Absolutely. If you guys haven't taken some sort of trauma course, TCCC, like what we teach is TCCC or TECC, Tactical Emergency Casualty Care, but I've changed the name for civilians so it doesn't sound so, I don't know, militaristic. And that is Traumatic Injury Response, but it's the same curriculum. Just change the name for marketing purposes. Get something like that. All right. And even if it says TECC or TCCC, take the course. It's so relevant to everything that you guys do. Forget about the tactical part of it most of the time. Now, if you are under fire or there's an active shooter, there's elements of that you're going to apply, principles and tactics, but everything else, learning how to preserve life until you can get them to a higher level of care, stopping the bleeds, being able to use tourniquets appropriately, effectively, being able to wound, pack wounds, knowing how to use a chest seal, how to prevent and how important it is to prevent hypothermia. Like, man, it is super critical. My moon and star dollar. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Great thing about conspiracies with evidence comes that disproves something. You just go further down the conspiracy rabbit hole rather than accepting it. It's true. The video I tagged you and shows Charlie from the moment he gets out of the car until the shooting. It blew everything I thought I knew. No body armor. I'll check that out. For sure. And hey, you know what? That's one of the things that I would like to do. Like, if I can get the right footage or in the right circumstances that proves he has no body armor, okay, fine. Then I can put that off to the side and I can move on to something else. Because right now, to me, that's the only thing that really makes sense to me. I'll check out that footage, Bluebird, because I have a problem with what people typically think what modern body armor is, especially something light that's only level 3A. I think you'd be surprised at how concealable that actually is. You're still going to be able to see nipples with it. But I'll check out that footage and man, I would love to just be like, all right, we don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't have to wait on body armor to get here anymore. We can just go and do this testing. Stephen Gardner info is from the same person that said he had bones of steel. Andrew Colville is where he got the autopsy info from. Does that, I'm assuming what you're saying, Betty, is that makes it incorrect or undermines its credibility. Look, Andrew Colville, one of the things that he primarily does is PR, right? So he's going to put spins on things that I don't know, but it doesn't mean that he won't have a more truthful conversation, if that's who told him this. And I'm probably assuming that you're right. If that's what told him, it doesn't necessarily, he'll put less of a optics
His job is
spin.
PR, that's true.
But I don't know if that's true. And again, what information was actually relayed to Andrew? Who relayed that? Was it directly from a medical examiner? Is Andrew Colville the executor? Is he in charge of getting that information? Or was that relayed from a medical examiner to Erica? And then from Erica to Andrew? Are we playing a game of telephone? Did some details get lost? I generally agree that I kind of take that entire report as a grain of salt, right? So I doubt very seriously that he got that information. If it came from Andrew Colville, I doubt very seriously that he got that information directly from a medical examiner. I think it was probably second or third, person news at that point. The conspiracy that really needs attention is the armed queers groups, group's connections with Antifa. The kid was radicalized and possibly paid to do the murder. If so, who paid? See, odorized ramblings, I'm with you on that. That's kind of the track I'm on. I think that's where I'm interested in exploring all this, right? I want to confirm or deny as much of this information as possible. But to me, is it so crazy that all the stuff that Charlie said, that we don't believe that he really pissed off some people that are militant in that demographic? Because there are. I think we see that, right? We see a movement that has tried to force itself upon the American people. And like there's some crazy people in that demographic, to say the least. So it's not, to me, like it's not such a stretch that if we end up with, hey, this was a crazy radicalized person that believed in this leftist trans ideology and was willing to do something. I think it is incomprehensible. It is unlikely, implausible, not going to happen that that kid was the only person that knew about this. I think it's much more likely that he was part of a larger group that planned this out. Like the chance that he's just a lone shooter, I'm with everybody on that. I just don't necessarily believe that they're right now with the evidence that I see. I don't think that there's additional shooters. But I think that like his boyfriend, girlfriend, trans furry, whatever that guy is, like I think he knew. I think other people knew about it, and there could be something deeper with all this stuff. And he could have been radicalized. Well, I'll just leave it at that. Unless proven in court otherwise, I'm sticking with body armor. Hit Ricochet up. Thanks for staying with the facts, Gary. You're welcome. Thanks, Mimi. Just Mimi. What are your thoughts on witnesses saying they heard 2 shots? I think, well, it's an echo chamber in that place, and we hear you can hear the echoes. I've heard multiple of good sources of audio. The absolute best good source of audio, man, I can never remember that guy's name. We had him on live just a few weeks ago. I'm sure somebody's typing it down there in the comments somewhere. Adam Bartholomew. All right. So his video and his audio has been the best source of information. Highest quality audio by far. You hear 1 shot. You 1 shot. So I don't doubt in that echo chamber, in that amphitheater, that people hear the reverberation. If you're near some of those concrete walls, look, I'm telling you right now, I've been in mountain environments, right? Urban terrain where you're surrounded by buildings and you hear gunshots go off and it sounds like multiples. You can't tell where they're coming from. It's very disorienting, especially when you're just sitting there and you're not, and that's like, it's very disorienting as somebody that's a combat veteran, that's seen a lot of combat, that's done a lot of things, still disorienting. You're just sitting there paying attention to Charlie Kirk, not worried about any of this, and like, boom, gunshot goes off and you hear the reverber. And some of those people have never even heard a gunshot. So I think we all agree that like eyewitness testimony is some of the worst, right? Everybody perceives just this discussion is a great example of it. Many of us have watched the exact same footage and all of us see something different. We've watched it 100 times, and it's, that's not to disparage anybody. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. But the fact is we all see something different transpiring and we're watching the same exact thing. So our perceptions of reality are just different. And that's a fact. Physics don't lie. The crack pop doesn't lie, but Candace does because she's a grifter. Great work telling the logical truths. That was another thing that I did want to hit on as far as like some hard facts that we can't get away from. We definitely have a boom, and then we have a recorded supersonic event. We know that for a fact in the audio that we have. So there was a supersonic projectile that cannot be faked. Can I say that is definitely the one that hit Charlie? No, but it definitely rules out the people that say that it was just a distraction device. It was a blank or whatever else. There was a supersonic event that took place. That is a fact. Can't get away from that. Can't really fake that. Not on multiple different phones. Like, and then you have to ask yourself, if that wasn't the one that hit him, then why not? Why is that not the one that hit him? Could the reason why you have not received your testing armor be that might be the same manufacturers as what he was wearing and knowing your testing? So I've actually thought about this. Yeah, I have thought about that exact thing. It almost guaranteed. And if they didn't, I'm going to have a friend of mine order it. I've actually thought about that exact thing. What I haven't seen them do is my card is still charged. I don't want to, because I'm worried about that. I haven't followed up. The fact is they charged my credit card. The charge is still there. They haven't refunded the money, so I expect my body armor. Simple as that. My mouse here is freaking not working on it for me. I don't know why this keeps. There we go. Here we go. They came back to life. I don't know what's going on with this. Can you explain again how concealing death threats and wearing body armor would affect the life insurance claims? Thanks for the no BS merit-based investigation. You're the best. Thank you, Sylvia. Yeah. So I don't know this for sure. Makes sense to me, right? I think that if you have a certain policy, and if there's any insurance people, my wife, that's actually what she went to school for. She would probably know this better than I do. I'll research this. This was brought up to me. It made sense to me. Wasn't anything that I verified. So take this explanation as a grain of salt, with a grain of salt, right? So it makes sense to me that if suddenly I'm killed and then whatever my insurance policy covered, but I didn't let them know that I was receiving death threats or I didn't let them know that I was so worried about dying that I was wearing body armor, I think there could be some sort of repercussion and possibly trying to deny payment for that life insurance policy. Somebody out there research that. I'll try to research that. And we'll see if that holds any merit. Hey, I purchased 16.5, 6.5 Creedmoor Christian's arm. Is a 16 inch even worth the time for long range fun shorty PRS rifles? Yeah. Like get out there and see what you can get out of it. The other thing that you can do is you can load to a little bit higher velocity if you are hand loading. So yeah, I mean, you're still going to get 1,000 yards out of that thing. It may have not much energy left at 1,000 yards, but I guarantee you're still probably going to be getting 2,300 feet per second out of there. It'll go 1,000 yards. So yeah, take that thing out, know the capabilities of your rifle, right? That's the whole point of it. Get out there, see what it can do, see what it doesn't do, and go from there. Action level head to takes. Thank you, buddy. I completely distrust the FBI, but with people don't understand is they do still have a protocol to follow during an active investigation, so we don't get all the answers when we want them. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't trust the FBI, but I definitely don't trust the internet even more. Like that's the problem with some of this stuff. Like yeah. I distrust what I'm being told by half of these YouTube channels. Not only do I distrust what they're saying, I primarily distrust their motives. I think that I know, based on a lot of experience that I had during Butler and coming across some of these lunatic people and their lunatic theories. I know that they know those theories are bullshit. I'm telling you that right now. I know that they know. I know that when they started the theory, they didn't think they had any merit. And look, we're seeing it time and time again. We've seen a lack of information from the FBI, no doubt about it. I don't know, and you guys help me out in the comments if you disagree with me. I don't know that we've seen specific deception from them. I wouldn't put it past them. I don't know that we've seen any come to find out that was bullshit. I mean, we had Governor Cox going out and saying that he had disassembled the rifle and then jumped off the roof. That was Governor Cox, and well, that's a whole nother ball of wax, right? That wasn't what the FBI actually stated. But I don't know of anything that I can point to that says, hey, this was clear deception. I can point out dozens of things on the internet that to me is clear deception and clear sensationalism. And we've seen it time and time again. So while the FBI isn't the place to go for answers, I mean, honestly, a lot of channels out there they're not acting in good faith. I mean, it's just a fact. And then some of them, look, I said it earlier in a post on Twitter.
I want to look at something else that he did here.
Definitely.
I was trying to.
Or was that relayed from a medical examiner to Erica, and then from Erica to Andrew? Are we planning?
So they have some shorts here. They are on their He's on his way to UVU to do some sort of testing. And let's see what they have to say here.
Hey folks, Gary here with Paramount. I hope everybody is doing well out there. All right, hey, so early next week, we're headed to Utah. All right, we're gonna be going to UVU, and we're gonna be getting some geospatial data, and we're gonna end up sharing that information with everybody out there. I think just recently in the last couple of days, I've had a couple of people that I find extremely credible that contacted me and are basically proposing ideas of different shooters and different locations. I think it would be silly for me to take these people not serious. I disagree with them, but the problem is I don't have the data to prove or disprove. I think they're missing out on some trajectories. I think the line of sight isn't, I don't think it's there, but I really can't tell. And with the data set that we're working off of, which is really Google Earth, there's no way to really know some of these things. So the problem that we have, all of us, especially when we're trying to explain some of these ballistics, but really everybody that are trying to find the truth about what happened, we're working off of really bad data. So we're gonna go out there, we're gonna get extremely precise geospatial data. We're gonna share that with the world. We're gonna have a 3D model that's available for everybody, and everybody can go nuts with it. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Now, what I would really like is if there's somebody out at UVU, whether they be staff, administrators, and or students, that I might be able to liaise with. So if that is you and you're willing to do that for us, and you'll know what the red stuff on my hand is with the video I released today. If that is you and we can get access to and kind of show us around the area, we'd really appreciate that. Also, anybody out there that has any suggestions of other things that they would like us to look into while we're there, put those down in the comments of this video. Also, anybody that's out there that we can meet up with that can show us around, DM me on Twitter and or send me an email, dlpodcast@paramountactical.com. I really appreciate everybody's support, and you're the reason that we're able to make this happen. But until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, so I've seen several versions of this video. Because I do want you, I don't know if you can see it, but I do want you to notice that steel. Hey folks, Gary here with Paramount, and today's Thursday, October.
Live from... So let's see.
Hey folks, Gary here with Paramount, and we are here on location at Utah Valley University, and we're on the roof. We've already walked the entire route. I have that footage coming. We've walked through the tunnel, we've walked up the stairs. And this is the little, and this little, I don't know, little wall is no more than 3 feet tall. But folks, right there, right over there is where the shot allegedly came from. And I want you to look right over here. That surveillance camera right there on the edge of that roof, that's where we've already seen footage from. And that, without a doubt, has an entire view of this location. So if there was a shot taken from there, it's going to be on that camera. The Utah authorities have it. The FBI has it. We have a mapping drone up in the air. And right now we have a mapping drone up in the air. It is mapping this entire campus. We're going to have a full 3D model of that. I've already taken a lot of footage on that camera from the route. So we got a lot more stuff coming. So make sure you stay tuned. But until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, and there's this.
Hey folks, Kirk here with Paramount, and we are right at the exact location. I know a lot of people wanted some video. I got a lot more video on other cameras of this entire area. I know they wanted to see that, the area that's been, we have pavers down here. But folks, I just did a groundbreaking interview with a guy named Henry. He was the first person to ask Charlie a question before Hunter Kozak, right? So when Charlie was shot, Henry was standing right there by that PVC pipe just to the right of it. I'm gonna try to get that edited and published tonight. Very interesting information came from that. And really good guy. I think you guys will get a lot out of that interview and some additional information, or at least confirmation of some things that we should know. Some of you do know, some of you might disagree with, but confirmation from firsthand experience of a guy standing right there, less than 20 feet away from Charlie when he was shot. One of the biggest things that I've taken away from this, just being here, is that while I've poured over hours and hours of footage,
of everything here, and I've looked at everything on Google Earth, and I know the exact distances of all these things. This space is it's much more compact. Everything is closer when you're here in person than what you perceive it to be through video footage and things like that. And I mean, just to give you an idea, that pot right there might be 8 feet from me or so. I don't know. The whole thing's surreal. It just makes the entire tragedy that much more tragic, to be honest with you. Anyways, we got a lot more information coming, so stay tuned, and we'll talk to you soon. Hey folks, Kerry here with...
Huh. That's interesting. That is a really good channel you can find. I was a little bit kind of wondering and a little bit worried about what is their coverage gonna be like, but I really feel like he takes a balanced approach to talking about everything, and so I think it's a really good channel. Alright, pretty soon it's gonna be time for Charlie Kirk's thing. I don't know if I'm gonna cover that or not. It's the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Not necessarily an important thing for me to cover live, I suppose. But I know that that's all I got for right now. So, bye!